My wife and I had been married for 12 years when her younger brother came to live with us. He was 24 years old and had just lost his job and his apartment in the same week. My wife said it would only be for a few weeks until he got back on his feet. I agreed because I love my wife and I wanted to help her family. Her brother was a quiet man who kept himself mostly. He spent his days on his laptop in the guest room and came out only for meals. At first I thought he was just shy or embarrassed about his situation. But as the weeks turned into months, I started to notice things that did not feel right. The first thing I noticed was the money. Small amounts at first. A $20 bill missing from my wallet. Then a 50. I told myself I was being careless and losing track of my cash. My wife told me I was too stressed from work and needed to relax. I tried to believe her. But then I found a receipt in the guest room trash can for a store I had never heard of. It was for a purchase of over $200. My brother-in-law had no job and no income, so I asked him about it. He looked me straight in the eye and said he had found a receipt on the street and had just thrown it away. His voice was calm and his face was still. I felt a chill run down my back. The second thing I noticed was the way my wife acted around him. She was always defensive about him. If I asked a simple question about his day, she would jump in with an answer before he could speak. She made his meals and cleaned his room and did his laundry. She treated him like a child, and he accepted it without question. I tried to talk to her about it one night after he had gone to bed. I told her that I felt like a stranger in my own home. She got angry and told me I was jealous of her brother. She said I did not understand what it was like to have a sibling who needed help. I dropped the conversation, but the feeling in my gut would not go away. The third thing was the most disturbing. I came home early from work one day because I was not feeling well. I walked into the house and heard voices from the living room. My wife and her brother were talking in low tones. I stood in the hallway and listened. My wife was crying softly and her brother was telling her to be strong. He said that I would never find out the truth and that everything was going to plan. My heart started to pound in my chest. I did not know what plan they were talking about, but I knew it involved me. I made a noise with my foot on purpose and walked into the room. They both jumped and stopped talking immediately. My wife smiled at me with a smile that did not reach her eyes and asked if I was feeling better. I said I was fine and went to our bedroom to lie down. That night, I could not sleep. I lay in bed next to my wife and thought about all the little things that had been bothering me. The missing money, the secret conversations, the way she looked at me now like I was a stranger. I decided I needed to find out what was really going on. The next day, I called in sick to work and waited for my wife to leave for her job. Her brother was still in the guest room with his door closed. I waited until I heard his shower running, and then I went into the room. The room was a mess. Clothes everywhere and empty food containers on the desk. I started looking through his things. I found a stack of letters hidden under the mattress. They were all addressed to my wife, and they were all from him. I opened one and started to read. My hands were shaking. The letters were love letters. He wrote about how he had loved her since they were children. He wrote about how she was the only woman he could ever want. He wrote about how they would be together one day, and I would be out of the picture. I felt sick. I put the letters back and left the room before he finished his shower. I did not know what to do. I could not confront my wife without proof, and I was not sure the letters would be enough. She could say they were old or that he was just confused. I needed something more solid. I decided to set up a hidden camera in the living room. I bought one online and installed it while they were both out of the house. I told myself I was doing this to protect myself. I had to know the truth. The footage I saw after a few days made my blood run cold. My wife and her brother would sit close together on the couch when they thought no one was watching. They would hold hands and whisper to each other. He would kiss her forehead and she would lean into him. They looked like a couple in love. I watched the footage over and over again. I could not believe what I was seeing. My wife was having an emotional affair with her own brother. It was sick and wrong and I did not know how to process it. I confronted her that night. I showed her the footage on my phone. Her face went pale and she started to cry. She told me it was not what I thought. She said she was just comforting him because he was depressed. I told her that I saw the letters and I saw the way they looked at each other. She stopped crying and her face changed. She looked at me with something like contempt. She said I was a fool. She said she had never loved me and that she only married me because I was stable and safe. She said her brother was the only man she ever truly wanted and that she was tired of pretending. I was stunned. 12 years of marriage, and this was the truth. I asked her why she did not just leave me. She said she needed my money and my house until she and her brother could get enough saved up to start a new life together. She said they had been planning this for over a year. She said I was just a stepping stone to her real life. I felt like the ground had fallen out from under me. I told her to leave. I told her to pack her things and take her brother and get out of my house. She laughed and said the house was in both our names and she was not going anywhere. She said if I tried to kick her out, she would call the police and tell them I was abusive. She had it all planned out. She had been preparing for this moment for a long time. I walked out of the house that night and drove to a hotel. I needed time to think. I sat in the dark room and felt sorry for myself. I thought about all the years I had given to this woman. I thought about the vacations we took and the dinners we shared and the plans we made for the future. It was all a lie. She had been using me from the very beginning. The next morning, I called a lawyer. I told him everything. He said I had a strong case for divorce based on infidelity and emotional abuse. He said the hidden camera footage was legal because it was in my own home. He said I should go back to the house and document everything. He said I should not leave the house because that could be seen as abandoning it. I listened to his advice and went back. When I walked through the door, my wife and her brother were sitting at the kitchen table. They were eating breakfast like nothing had happened. My wife looked at me with a cold smile and asked if I had come to my senses. I did not answer her. I went to our bedroom and started packing her things into garbage bags. She followed me and screamed at me. She said I had no right to touch her stuff. I told her I had every right because I was the one who paid for most of it. She tried to grab my arm, but I pulled away. Her brother came in and stood behind her like a guard dog. I looked at him and told him he was a pathetic man. He did not say anything. He just stared at me with empty eyes. The divorce took 6 months. It was ugly and expensive. She fought me on everything. She wanted the house and the car and half of my retirement savings. She would try to get alimony. My lawyer was good, though. He used the footage and the letters to show the judge what kind of person she really was. The judge was disgusted by her behavior. She got nothing. She had to leave the house with her brother and find a place to live on her own. The day she left was the strangest day of my life. She stood on the front porch with her bags and looked at me like I was the one who had done something wrong. Her brother was waiting in the car with the engine running. She told me I would regret this. She said I would never find anyone who loved me like she did. I laughed in her face. I told her that her love was worthless and that I would rather be alone forever than with someone like her. She got in the car and they drove away. I watched them go and felt a strange sense of peace. The house was quiet for the first time in months. I walked through each room and looked at the spaces where they had been. I felt sorry for her brother more than anything. He had been brainwashed by her since he was a child. She had twisted his mind and made him believe that they were meant to be together. It was a tragedy for both of them. I started to rebuild my life after that. I painted the guest room and turned it into a home office. I sold a car and bought a new one. I took a vacation by myself to a place I had always wanted to go. I met new people and made new friends. I learned to be happy on my own. It took a long time to trust anyone again. I dated a few women, but nothing serious. I was too scared to open up. Then I met a woman at a coffee shop. She was kind and patient, and she did not push me to talk about my past. She let me take things at my own pace. We have been together for 2 years now, and I am thinking about asking her to marry me. She knows about my ex-wife, and she does not judge me for it. She says everyone has a past, and what matters is the future. I still think about my ex-wife sometimes. I wonder if she and her brother are still together. I wonder if they are happy or if their twisted relationship has fallen apart. I did not check on them or look them up online. I do not want to know. They are a part of my past, and I have moved on. The lesson I learned from all of this is that you never really know a person. You can spend years with someone and still not see who they truly are. Trust is a fragile thing, and once it is broken, it is almost impossible to repair. I am more careful now. I pay attention to the little things, and I listen to my gut. My gut was right about my ex-wife and her brother. I should have listened to it sooner, but at least I listened to it in the end. I'm in a good place now. My life is simple and honest. I have a job I enjoy and a woman who loves me for who I am. I have friends who care about me and a future that looks bright. The nightmare of that marriage is behind me, and I am grateful for every new day. Sometimes I sit on my back porch at sunset and think about how different my life could have been if I'd stayed with her. I would be miserable and broken. I would be living a lie. Instead, I am free. I am free from her manipulation and her cruelty. I am free from her brother and his pathetic devotion. I am free to be myself. That is the best feeling in the world. That is the feeling of waking up from a long, bad dream and realizing that the sun is shining and the birds are singing and you have your whole life ahead of you. I am thankful for that feeling every single day. I am thankful for my second chance. My mother always told me that the truth will set you free. I never really understood what she meant until now. The truth about my wife and her brother was painful and ugly, but it set me free from a life of lies. It gave me the courage to walk away and start over. It gave me the strength to find real love and real happiness. I do not regret any of it. Not the pain or the heartbreak or the wasted years. They all brought me to where I am today. They made me who I am, and I like who I am now. I am a man who knows his worth. I am a man who will never let anyone use him again. I'm a man who is finally living his own life.